Hi anime fans, today we're going to talk all about Cowboy Bebop, Knocking on Heaven's Door. It's a pretty good movie, especially if you're already a Bebop fan. Full spoilers ahead. With that, let's just get started. The film opens on burglars trying to rob a store, before Spike walks into the store. He pretends to idly browse, even as someone with a gun threatens him. It doesn't take him long to stop pretending, and start beating up all the men inside. He gets a little help from his friend, Jet, but he doesn't really need it. One of the men comes out from the bathroom, panics, and takes a hostage. This is dealt with just as easily. We then cut to the opening credits. We cut to the Bebop, with Spike and Jet playing a game of shogi that Jet is losing. When Jet finally manages to make a good move with some help from a dog. But Spike is already asleep. We then cut to a ship slowly traveling over a large river. A woman, Faye, is controlling it. She flies over a large runway. Apparently, she's tracking a bounty. She flies dangerously close to some cars as she enters a city. She eventually starts to get close to what looks like a large oil truck, which stops in the middle of the road. A man steps out, but this wasn't her target. Behind him, his truck explodes. Faye looks around, seeing the man unharmed, before he disappears. A ship lands on the water, before a news report plays, recounting the explosion we just watched. They're arguing that this wasn't just an explosion, but some kind of bioweapon. Faye steps into the Bebop, seeing the news headline. They see the gigantic bounty on the terrorists, and they're all stunned. We cut to two detectives at a hospital questioning a doctor about the victims. The doctors have no idea what's going on, but the victims all seem crazy. We cut back to the crew and they all decide to take on the case. Spike wanders through the city, wasting more time than he spends working. He eventually wanders into a shady-looking shop, with three old men around a small game of poker. Spike walks up to them, asking after someone. He eventually finds him, a man named Rashid. Rashid seems to know more than he's letting on, but he isn't exactly willing to say it. Rashid leads him down some alleys, before leading him to a shady shop. Here, Rashid picks up a strange vase, before handing it over to Spike, urging him to buy it. He then runs out the store, and Spike loses him. He sees a strange woman, but she disappears. We see the two terrorists in a car, driving down a road. They get inspected by a police officer, but shoot him dead and drive off. We then cut to a cinema, with Jet, getting more information on the case. He finds out a medical company might be having some shady dealings he needs to look more into. We then cut to the terrorists meeting up with a man. They walk into the inside of a large warehouse. The two terrorists discuss the new strain of their virus. We then see Faye watching a TV show discussing the bounty, before she stumbles across some actual information. She analyzes the only picture she has of the terrorist, and finds a tattoo on his arm. Faye does eventually stumble across some information about him, and races off to find him. Spike walks in just as she leaves, carrying the vase. Inside the vase, they find a small blue marble. We then cut to one of the terrorists playing a game at the arcade, just as Faye walks behind him. He turns all the lights off and runs away in the dark. He slips outside into the crowd, but he leaves his hat behind. Back at the ship, the crew analyzes the small marble. They find out that the marble carries a different kind of lymphocyte that acts strangely when it's exposed to a microwave. We cut back to Spike, who manages to hijack a large cleaning truck to infiltrate a medical facility. His disguise gets blown quickly, and a woman holds him at gunpoint. He manages to fight her off, but not before observing a tattoo on her arm. More security soon arrives, and he makes a run for it. He gets surrounded by guards, and just barely escapes the facility. We see one of the terrorists start to hack into several screens, before displaying the image of the virus on them. The crew discovers that the new virus is full of nanomachines capable of eating people from the inside. Spike relates that the research facility was a little too secure to be just a research facility. He also confirms that she had the same tattoo that the terrorist did. Outside, Ed is wandering the streets with the terrorist's hat, using a dog to track him down. He eventually manages to find the terrorist on the street, and starts following him to a small building. He tells Faye that he's found the target, and he sends the address. Ed gets distracted and wanders off, leaving Faye to find the right building. Inside, the two terrorists set off a sample of the virus. One of them collapses to the ground, the other stands unharmed. He breaks a window, letting Faye find the right room. He's already dead, and Faye starts to get dizzy as soon as she walks inside. The other terrorist steps in behind her and takes her out. Spike finds out where he is, and starts trying to track him down. People from the medical facility are trying to track him down too, as he tries to board a train. Spike and the woman both make it on the train, going through the different carts. Spike eventually confronts Vincent and the two fire at each other. The woman runs in behind Spike, and Vincent shoots her. Spike and Vincent then go hand to hand, and Spike eventually loses as Vincent holds him over the window. The woman recovers, but not before Vincent shoots Spike and throws him off the train, before setting off a grenade. The grenade carries the virus, and all of the passengers start to die. The woman is unaffected. Spike eventually wakes up, seeing visions. When he wakes up for real, he's lying on a beach, two men huddling over him. Spike tells them that this is the first time he's really been afraid of dying. We cut to Spike and Jin, after Spike has recovered. Vincent has disappeared. The woman from before gets taken off duty, for failing the mission. Spike and Jet get back on the Bebop, and Ed tells them that he's hacked into the medical facility. The two find that the nanomachines are a top-secret government project that was supposed to be illegal, but got used anyway. Faye wakes up on the floor, Vincent standing over her. Spike wanders around the city, trying to find Rashid again, with no luck. Vincent tells Faye that he shared some of his blood with her, making her immune. Spike eventually finds Rashid, who was actually the doctor that had made the nanomachines to begin with. The doctor laments over making something so horrible to begin with. The doctor tells Spike that Vincent has a counter nanomachine in his body, one that made him go out of control. Vincent tells Faye that he forgot his past, thanks to the experiments. Spike gets surrounded by security. The woman gets surrounded by security too, when she tries to meet her boss. They confront her on having the vaccine in her body. They throw her in a cell, in the same hall as Spike. The two talks, and the woman finally gives her name, it's Elektra. The two keep talking, and Elektra tells Spike more about Vincent's past. Spike starts to tell Elektra about a woman he met in the past, who changed his life and gave him a reason to live. Spike says that he and Vincent share the same soul, which is why he is determined to see him again. Vincent mentions Spike to Faye, and tells her of his plan to use a stronger version of the virus on Halloween, destroying the world. Vincent kills one of his subordinates who stumbled into the room, before walking away. Spike and Elektra manage to disarm some guards before breaking out. Spike and Vincent make their way through the facility, before breaking into a lab. Spike takes a bag full of the vaccine, and breaks out. The government tries to catch Vincent, thinking he's going to poison the water supply. Jet and Ed get a call from Faye, just as Spike comes into the Bebop, carrying the vaccine. Despite their best efforts, the government can't find Vincent at the water treatment plant. Spike and the others decide that Vincent is really going to a large Halloween party in the middle of a party. The team is spraying the vaccine into several bottles, as Spike rides off on a ship. The army tries to shoot him down, but Spike manages to evade them. Jet and Faye get some really old biplanes, and give them all orders to spray the vaccine all over the city. The planes take off in formation and Jet watches them leave. A couple of the planes do end up crashing, but a few do manage to actually take off. Spike is still being chased by the army, and he's still barely managing to keep them at bay. He eventually manages to lose the last of the planes, by having it collide and explode against a boat. Spike manages to land on top of a bridge. His plane is ruined, but he gets out, and grabs a taxi. Faye walks into the middle of a climate control station and demands them to make it rain, under gunpoint. Vincent slowly surveys the city from some way high up, as a large parade travels through the city. Vincent surveys a large stage from what looks like a pillar. Spike is stuck in traffic, before jumping out and starting to make his way on foot. Vincent climbs to the highest part of what looks like an Eiffel Tower replica. Spike confronts him at the top, as fireworks explode all around them. The two start to fight one last time, with the both of them seeming evenly matched at first. The planes fly overhead, before starting to spray down the vaccine. Spike and Vincent continue their hand-to-hand fight, still just as evenly matched as ever. The Halloween celebration finally starts to kick off, and Vincent starts to take the upper hand. Spike finally manages to push Vincent back, but Vincent soon recovers. The two stares at each other, exhausted, and Vincent tells him that it's too late to save the world. Spike dares Vincent to pull the trigger, and he does, setting off a small bomb. Spike pulls out a cigarette, seeming completely unconcerned as it starts to rain. The two square off again, as Spike starts to get dizzy. Vincent holds him at gunpoint, just as Elektra confronts him. Vincent hesitates, and Elektra shoots him in the chest. Vincent finally remembers who Elektra is, and confesses that she was the woman he used to love. He dies a few seconds later, just as the vaccine starts to kick in. The rain spread the vaccine much faster than the bomb could, saving the city. The credits start to roll. Well, that's it for this movie, and it was a journey. Thank you for sticking around all the way to the end, and I'll see you all next time.